And so if the rib breaks and it pops it, what can happen is I can get a hole in this. And so air starts leaving the lung and starts building up in this space like that. And it starts expanding, right? So now imagine I'm going to take this lung here and we're going to pretend that it popped. And I'm going to let some of the air out. But imagine that that air is actually accumulating in here, right? So as that air is accumulating, what is it doing to the lung?
It's like closing up the lung.
Yeah, it's squishing it down, right? So as it starts to squish it down, the person's like, oh, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And so what we have to do is we come in and we put a hole in this, and that hole allows the air to come out of this layer and then allows the lung to fill back up again, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what a pneumothorax is. It's when somebody punctures their lung, and so because they punctured that lung, they start collecting air between the visceral layer, which is the lung, and the parietal layer, which is what's attached to the rib cage. You know, imagine like this is the rib, right? We're going to take the ultrasound probe, and this is the probe marker, and you're going to put it so the probe marker is facing on my head, but my ribs are like this, right? And you're going to go between two of the ribs, and you're going to look at that layer. And the first one you're going to see is the parietal, and then you're going to see the visceral, and it's going to look like a shiny little shimmering line. And as I breathe, you'll see that shimmering and sliding back and forth, all right? All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to take this and try to put it between two ribs, okay?
Okay.
All right, so hold it on to my chest here. Remember the probe marker goes where? Up towards the head. Yep, like that.
Is that shiny thing it?
Now, do you see that black dot right there?
Yeah.
In that one? Do you know what those are?
Ribs.
Boom. Exactly. Those are ribs, right?
And so this silver line right there is your...
Yep, that's it. You see how it's shimmering and it's sliding? So here's what happens in a pneumothorax. So I'm going to take this here, and I want you to pretend that I got all this air that's accumulated between here and there, right? Well, when you put this on like this, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to see that sliding, because air, when it hits air, it scatters all over the place. And so what'll happen is if somebody has a pneumothorax, you won't see it sliding at all. But that's because there's nothing to slide, right? Because the lung has actually collapsed, and then this part is still attached to the ribs, but there's nothing to slide, right? So all you're seeing is just the parietal layer.
So like it means like this lung, let's see a rib broke and it goes in there.
Mm-hmm.
This will start going, your leg will start going down, and then it'll start building air up in here.
Yep. And that starts to collapse this, right?
Yeah.
And so what will that look like on ultrasound?
You wouldn't see anything.
Yeah, so you would see just this layer, right? The one that's attached to the rib, but the actual lung is further down, right? You see how like when we're looking at this here, how there's like certain areas that are closer and then other areas where there's a bunch of gap between the two bags, a bunch of air. Let's say that they're developing a pneumothorax right here, but the whole lung hasn't collapsed yet, right? So you may still see lung sliding over here, but you wouldn't see it over here because the lung is further away. It's further down. There's more air between there, right? So if you were going to try to check lung sliding, let's do it on me one more time and see if you can remember how to position the probe. Yep. You see it sliding back and forth?
Wait, which one is that? This one?
Mm-hmm. So this would be like the first Ziploc bag, the one that has the air in it.
Yeah.
And then this one over here would be the one that is actually attached to the ribs.
Oh, would you be able to like right away feel if you had pneumothorax?
Not right away. And it's not always from like a broken rib. Sometimes people can like have way too much air inside their lung, or they like for some reason they're coughing really hard, or like an asthmatic, they trap a bunch of air. And so what can happen is it can start to leak. But typically, like real small ones, you may have it and then it could just go away. You wouldn't even know you had it. And some people actually are prone, which means like more likely to get a pneumothorax. And it's typically people who are tall and skinny, which is interesting, right? Why do you think that would be the case?
Tall and skinny. Skinny probably because they're not healthy. And then...
Like they're not eating their dinners and stuff?
Yeah.